A flight attendant kicks a family out of first class, only to discover they own the airline. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment below where you're watching from. Now, let's dive into another heartwarming story that's sure to touch your heart. Anna always knew life was about choices, and every decision she made seemed to push her towards something greater. Coming from a humble background, she carried the weight of expectations and an insatiable desire to prove herself. From an early age, she learned to turn challenges into fuel to reach her goals. And on that day, as she prepared for another flight, she had no idea her life was about to change drastically. Anna had a habit of arriving early at the airport. She loved feeling the movement, the sound of luggage rolling across the floor, the boarding announcements echoing through the terminal, and the constant murmur of hurried travelers. To her, this organized chaos was a reminder that she was part of something grand. Working as a flight attendant was her personal achievement, the result of years of hard work and determination. That morning, as she put on her impeccably pressed uniform, adjusted the scarf around her neck, and pinned her hair into a perfect bun, Anna looked in the mirror and smiled. Her reflection was that of a woman who had earned her place in the world. But behind the confident smile lay traces of exhaustion and worry. The long shifts, the demands of such a meticulous job, and the constant effort to maintain appearances were starting to take their toll. The flight that day wasn't just any flight. It was an international route to New York, one of the most sought-after and glamorous in the airline. First class was fully booked, packed with demanding passengers used to luxury. Anna knew the pressure would be even higher than usual, but that only motivated her to give her best. After all, she was aiming for a promotion, and this flight was her chance to stand out. During the pre-flight briefing, the captain mentioned that the presence of influential passengers would make the day even more challenging. "We need to ensure everything is flawless," he said, looking directly at Anna and the other crew members. "We're carrying important people, and our reputation is at stake." As she waited for boarding to begin, Anna thought about her family. She had grown up in a small neighborhood on the outskirts of town, where her mother worked as a seamstress and her father did odd jobs as a construction worker. They had always supported her, but the lack of resources was a constant obstacle. That's why Anna studied so hard, saved every penny, and never let difficulties divert her from her goals. Now, she was a source of pride for her parents and a role model for her younger sister, who dreamed of following in her footsteps. Despite her apparent stability, Anna dealt with insecurities. She carried a constant feeling that she needed to try harder to prove her worth. The competitive work environment only reinforced this pressure. Working alongside colleagues from wealthy families or with more opportunities often made Anna feel out of place, even when she was recognized for her exemplary performance. As passengers began to board, Anna took her position at the aircraft entrance, greeting each one with a rehearsed smile. She knew her demeanor was being observed and evaluated at all times, not just by her superiors but also by the passengers themselves. Every detail mattered, from her tone of voice to the way she offered assistance. The first-class passengers arrived punctually. Businessmen in expensive suits, elegant women clutching designer bags, and even an international celebrity. Anna maintained her composure, greeting everyone with the necessary cordiality but feeling the weight of expectations grow. It was as if she were on display, being judged by those who occupied a place she could never reach. As passengers settled in, Anna noticed the tension among the crew. This flight was an opportunity for everyone to showcase their competence, and the slightest mistake could come at a high cost. One of the more experienced flight attendants, Paolo, approached her and whispered, "Everything's fine so far, but stay alert. This flight is different." Anna nodded, fully aware that any incident could tarnish her reputation. There was a rumor among the staff that the company was considering changes in crew leadership, and Anna knew that if she performed well, she might be considered for the position. Shortly before the airplane doors closed, an unexpected logistical delay began to irritate the passengers. Anna and her team were flooded with complaints, some aggressive and others passive-aggressive. As always, Anna remained calm, responding with patience and efficiency. But internally, she felt the stress building. Every word was carefully chosen, and every gesture calculated to avoid any misunderstandings. While addressing a request, Anna noticed a couple in the economy class arguing with a flight attendant. The situation seemed tense, but Anna knew it wasn't her place to intervene at that moment. She needed to stay focused on first class, where the level of demand was even higher. With the passengers finally seated and the plane cleared for takeoff, Anna took a deep breath and did a final check of the aisle. She felt confident in her ability to handle whatever came her way, but she had no idea this flight would be the catalyst for a profound change in her life. At that moment, Anna was just a determined flight attendant eager to impress her superiors and achieve her goals. But over the next few hours, she would be challenged in ways she never imagined, forced to confront her own biases and reevaluate everything she believed about herself and others. As the plane gained altitude, Anna looked out the window and saw the clouds spread across the sky. It was a familiar view, but on that day, the horizon seemed to hold something different. She just didn't know she was about to face the greatest challenge of her career and her life. The flight's routine proceeded as usual. Anna, with her impeccable posture, moved through first class, checking the final details before the in-flight service began. Every passenger had specific demands. One wanted their mineral water at room temperature, another asked for an extra pillow. It was an environment where every detail mattered, and Anna made it a point to handle everything with precision. But then, something out of the ordinary happened. First-class boarding had already been completed, or so Anna thought, when the cabin door opened again to admit a family. They arrived hurriedly, carrying a few small bags. It was a couple with 2 children, and unlike the other first-class passengers, they weren't dressed in expensive clothes or adorned with luxury accessories. The man wore a simple shirt, denim pants, and worn-out shoes, while the woman had on a floral dress that looked comfortable but lacked the sophistication expected in that setting. The children, a boy of about 8 years old and a slightly younger girl, carried colorful backpacks and clutched toys in their hands. The simplicity of the scene sharply contrasted with the refined atmosphere of first class. Anna frowned slightly but maintained her professional smile. They were passengers, after all, and deserved the same courteous treatment as anyone else. Yet something about the situation unsettled her. "May I help you?" she asked, trying to hide her unease. "We're in first class, right?" the man asked, showing their boarding passes. Anna quickly checked them. Everything was in order. They really did have assigned seats there. "Yes, this is the right place." "Welcome," she replied, gesturing toward their seats. As the family settled in, the discomfort in the cabin was palpable. Some first-class passengers cast discreet but judgmental glances. A woman with a pearl necklace shimmering under the cabin lights whispered something to her husband, who shook his head in disapproval. Anna tried to ignore the murmurs but was well aware that the presence of this modest family was already causing a stir. The children, blissfully unaware of the tension, began exploring their seats. The boy, curious, pressed buttons on the seat console, while the girl clung to a teddy bear, her eyes sparkling with excitement as she took in the surroundings. It was clear they weren't accustomed to flying, let alone in first class. "Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts," Anna said gently but firmly. She knew she needed to maintain order. Of course," the children's mother replied with a timid smile. She seemed uncomfortable, perhaps aware of the looks from around the cabin, but she said nothing. Shortly after the family settled in, the girl began swinging her legs, accidentally kicking the seat in front of her. It was occupied by a businessman reading a newspaper. He turned around irritably and looked directly at Anna, expecting her to address the issue. "Excuse me, miss, this is unacceptable," he said in a low but stern tone. Anna quickly approached. "I'm so sorry, sir. I'll take care of it right away." She crouched down to the girl's level and, with a forced smile, explained, "Sweetheart, it's important not to kick the seat in front of you. You can play with your teddy bear instead, okay?" The mother nodded in gratitude, but Anna noticed her eyes were fixed on the floor as if she wanted to disappear. Despite the murmurs and glances, the family did their best to behave. The father helped the children organize their toys, while the mother gazed out the window, admiring the view. Anna watched from a distance, torn between her professionalism and a growing discomfort. One of the other flight attendants, Paolo, discreetly approached Anna. "Do they really have first-class seats?" he whispered. "Yes, I checked their tickets. Everything's fine," Anna replied, trying to maintain her composure. "Interested? They don't seem like the type of people who usually fly up here," Paolo remarked, not maliciously but in a tone that echoed the silent prejudice present in the cabin. Anna felt a pang of doubt. "Maybe they won the tickets in some kind of raffle or something," she said, trying to justify it. During the safety demonstration, the boy loudly asked questions, interrupting Anna's presentation. He wanted to know how the plane stayed in the air and if the life vest was really necessary. While his questions were genuine and even endearing, they weren't well received by the surrounding passengers. "It's impossible to concentrate with these kids here," complained a woman in the back. Anna gave her a reassuring look but felt the pressure mounting internally. Once the aircraft reached cruising altitude, the tension in the first-class cabin became more pronounced. The children chatted with each other while the father tried to distract them with stories and games. The mother, visibly tired, looked at Anna with a hesitant smile, as if silently apologizing. Anna began to question the situation. While the family's presence was legitimate, something felt out of place. She couldn't pinpoint what it was. Maybe their style, the children's behavior, or even their skin tone. As a flight attendant, her instinct was to ensure harmony in the cabin, but at that moment, it seemed impossible to balance the passengers' expectations with the dignity of that family. While serving drinks to the other passengers, Anna couldn't take her eyes off the family. Something about their simple and calm demeanor intrigued her. Why were they there? It was clear they didn't share the same behavior or style as the other first-class passengers, yet there was something about them, perhaps a quiet serenity, that made her question her own biases. Anna also thought back to her own childhood. She had grown up in a modest home, and her family had never had the opportunity to travel by plane. If she were in that woman's position, with young children and no experience flying, she'd likely feel the same embarrassment. At the same time, Anna knew she couldn't let her emotions interfere. She had a job to do, and it was her responsibility to ensure everyone in first class was satisfied, even if that meant making tough decisions. The decisive moment was approaching. Anna could feel the tension in the air, like a storm ready to break. The family continued to be the target of glances and whispers, and Anna knew she would eventually have to act. What she didn't realize was that her choice in that moment would define the direction of her career and her life. Anna walked briskly down the first-class aisle, holding a tray with champagne glasses, her steps controlled but her mind restless. The family's presence continued to draw attention, and complaints from passengers were becoming more direct. A middle-aged man in a perfectly tailored gray suit stood up as Anna passed by. "Miss, this is unacceptable," he said in a low but clearly irritated tone. "I pay a fortune for this seat and expect a first-class experience, not a circus with unruly children." Anna took a deep breath, maintaining her smile, though the weight of his criticism hit her like a wave. "I understand, sir. We're doing everything we can to ensure everyone has a comfortable flight," she responded professionally. But she knew her words wouldn't solve the problem. She could feel the discomfort among the passengers growing, and her attention returned to the family. The children were now seated, seemingly calm, but their parents looked tense. The mother stared out the window, avoiding eye contact with anyone, while the father adjusted the children's seatbelts, trying to maintain order. Determined to intervene, Anna approached the family. Her posture was firm, but she tried to remain calm. "Excuse me, sir, ma'am. I need to ask that you keep the children's behavior in check. Some passengers are feeling disturbed." The man looked at Anna with a mix of surprise and irritation. "We're trying. They're children, you know. We're doing the best we can." Anna noticed the defensive tone but pressed on. "I understand, sir, but this is first class. Passengers expect a quiet environment. First class or not, we paid for these seats. We have the same right to be here as anyone else," he replied, crossing his arms. Anna felt a chill run down her spine. It wasn't common for passengers to react so firmly. Usually, people would apologize and try to adapt, but this man seemed determined not to back down. A little later, the boy began playing with the seat controls, repeatedly raising and lowering the chair. A nearby passenger voiced their complaint loudly, drawing everyone's attention. "This is ridiculous. Someone needs to do something," said a woman wearing sunglasses, adjusting her designer bag on her lap. Feeling the pressure mount, Anna turned back to the family. This time, her approach was less patient. "Sir, I need to ask that the children stop this immediately. We can't continue like this." The man took a deep breath, clearly trying to keep his composure. "I'm trying, but they're kids. Maybe you could be a bit more understanding." "I am, sir," Anna replied, unable to keep her tone from sounding sharper than intended. "But in this case, I need your cooperation." The mother, who had been silent until then, finally spoke up. "We're doing the best we can. It's not fair to be treated this way just because we don't look like we belong here." Those words hit Anna like a knife. It wasn't her intention to imply that the family's appearance influenced her actions, but it was impossible to ignore that the other passengers thought exactly that. After all, the children, who had initially caused some minor annoyance with their curiosity, were now quietly playing with their toys. The truth, however, was that the children's behavior had never been the real problem. Most of the passengers weren't bothered by the laughter or questions of the little ones. The discomfort stemmed from something else entirely: the presence of the man and his family, whose simple appearance didn't align with the image many had of who should occupy those luxurious first-class seats. To some passengers, the father in his worn denim pants and the mother in her modest dress were an anomaly in a space where everything was meant to exude wealth and sophistication. In their minds, this family simply didn't belong there, no matter how they behaved. After a few more minutes of tension, Anna decided she needed to take more definitive action. She called Paolo, the experienced flight attendant, to discuss the situation. "Paolo, the family is causing too many issues. I think we should move them to economy class. It would make things more comfortable for everyone." Paolo raised an eyebrow, hesitant. "They have first-class tickets, Anna. We can't just downgrade them." "I know, but the situation is getting out of control. We have to think about the other passengers too," she argued. After a brief debate, Paolo relented, trusting Anna's judgment. She walked back to the family, feeling the weight of the decision she was about to make. "Sir, ma'am, we need to talk. This situation isn't working, and we believe it would be better for everyone if you move to economy class," she said, trying to sound empathetic yet firm. The man stood slowly, locking eyes with Anna. "Are you asking us to leave first class because you think we don't belong here?" "That's not it, sir. It's about ensuring everyone's comfort," Anna replied, though she knew her words sounded hollow. "We paid for these seats. We're not less than anyone else on this plane," the mother said, her voice trembling with indignation. The scene drew the attention of other passengers. Some whispered among themselves, while others watched with curiosity. Anna's heart raced, but she couldn't back down. She had to maintain authority. "I understand, ma'am, but we need to resolve this practically. I can assure you that you'll have every comfort in economy class." "You don't understand anything," the man replied. But realizing that resisting further would only cause more embarrassment, he sighed and began gathering their belongings. As the family made their way to economy class, escorted by Paolo, Anna felt a mix of relief and discomfort. She knew she had addressed the immediate issue, but something didn't feel right. The disapproving looks from some passengers, especially an elderly woman sitting in the last row of first class, deeply unsettled her. When Anna returned to her station, one passenger quietly remarked, "Finally. I was about to demand a refund." Another simply shook their head, as if disapproving of how the situation had been handled. Anna tried to ignore it, but the feeling that she might have made a mistake began to grow in her mind. With the family gone, the atmosphere in first class seemed calmer, but Anna couldn't find peace. Her decision had been practical, yet something inside her told her it might have been unfair. She tried to push those thoughts aside, convincing herself she had done what was necessary to maintain harmony on the flight. Still, that confrontation would remain etched in her memory, marking the beginning of a series of events that would change her life in ways she could never have imagined. The plane was finally cruising, and the atmosphere in first class began to settle. The space, previously filled with murmurs and uncomfortable glances, was now a mix of relief and indifference. Anna tried to focus on her tasks, but she knew moving the family to economy hadn't truly solved the problem. On the contrary, the decision seemed to have planted a seed of doubt in her conscience. As she organized the meal service, Anna reflected on the events that had just unfolded. It was clear that the other passengers were more satisfied with the family's absence, but something didn't sit right with her. She wondered if she had judged the situation fairly or if she had been influenced by the complaints of others. Anna had always prided herself on being fair and professional, but this episode made her question whether her decision had been practical or prejudiced. She didn't want to admit it, but there was something about the family's simple appearance that had bothered her from the start. Perhaps she had been influenced by the same bias she saw in the passengers around her. Paolo, who had always been a voice of reason for Anna, noticed her unease and decided to check in as they served meals. "Are you okay?" he asked, pouring a glass of water for a passenger. "Yeah. I think so," Anna replied hesitantly. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Paolo shrugged. "You made a decision. Not everyone is going to agree, but that's part of the job. I just hope it wasn't personal." "It wasn't personal," Anna said quickly, though even she wasn't entirely convinced by her own words. The family's removal did not go unnoticed in economy class. As they settled into their new seats, curious and sympathetic glances began to emerge. The children, who had previously seemed excited, now sat quietly side by side, playing distractedly with their toys. The father stared down the aisle with a serious expression, while the mother kept her eyes down, visibly uncomfortable. Clara, one of the economy class flight attendants, approached to offer assistance. "If you need anything, please let me know," she said with a kind smile. "Thank you, but we're fine," the man replied, his tone flat. Clara could sense the weight of the situation. Although she didn't know exactly what had happened, it was clear the family felt out of place, and she wanted to do whatever she could to make their experience less unpleasant. Back in first class, passengers began voicing their opinions about Anna's decision. While serving coffee to an elderly woman seated in the first row, Anna overheard a comment that made her stomach turn. "Finally, someone brought order here," the woman said, adjusting her glasses. "People like that have no idea how to behave in an environment like this." Anna kept her professional smile, but the words echoed in her mind. She knew that by removing the family, she had opened the door to this kind of judgment, and it deeply unsettled her. Another passenger, a businessman working on his laptop, was more direct. "You did what had to be done, but I hope this doesn't happen again. We're paying for a premium experience, not a second-rate spectacle." Anna nodded in acknowledgement, but her mind was elsewhere. Despite the complaints having subsided, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Shortly before dinner was served, Anna was called to the cockpit by the captain. A seasoned aviator with decades of experience, he always maintained a calm and authoritative demeanor. "Anna, I heard about what happened," he said as soon as she entered. "It sounds like you had to handle a tricky situation." "Yes, sir," Anna replied, trying to keep her composure. "The family was causing discomfort to the other passengers, so we decided to move them to economy class." The captain nodded, though his expression was probing. "I understand the reasoning behind your decision, but I want to remind you that our job isn't just about maintaining order. We also need to ensure that every passenger is treated with respect." "Of course, sir. I did what I thought was best at the time," Anna said, trying to hide the uncertainty in her voice. "Very well," he replied, his tone softening. "Just be careful. Situations like this can spiral out of control quickly, and you don't want to be remembered as someone who acted unfairly." Anna left the cockpit feeling even heavier. She knew the captain was right, but it was too late to undo her decision. During dinner service, Anna tried to focus on her work. She served plates with precision, answered passengers' questions politely, and checked on everyone's comfort. Yet, even as she worked, she couldn't get the family out of her mind. The comments kept coming, sometimes subtle, sometimes blunt. One passenger asked if they would be compensated for having to endure that chaos. Another suggested that the airline should be stricter about who was allowed to travel in first class. Anna heard it all but limited her responses to neutral phrases. Each comment seemed to validate her decision, yet it also fueled a growing doubt about the true reasons behind her actions. Toward the end of the meal service, Anna took a moment to rest in the galley. Sitting on a narrow bench, she looked at her hands, which were trembling slightly. She felt exhausted, not from the physical demands of the job but from the emotional toll of the day. She thought about her own family and how her parents would have reacted in the same situation. Her mother, without a doubt, would have lowered her head, trying to avoid any conflict. Her father would have stood firm, just as the man in the family had, but ultimately he would have relented too. The memory brought a wave of sadness. Anna realized that in her journey to adapt to the sophisticated world of aviation, she might have forgotten where she came from. She had been trying to fit into a place where, deep down, she still felt like an outsider. As the flight entered its final phase, first class was once again quiet. The passengers appeared satisfied, but Anna knew the incident with the family still lingered in the air. She tried to push the thoughts away, focusing on finishing her tasks, but the sense that something was about to happen was impossible to ignore. Little did Anna know that the decision she made under pressure would be the starting point for a series of events that would change her life forever. The aircraft continued its smooth journey toward New York, cutting through the clouds with ease. In first class, an uncomfortable silence lingered in the air. Although the complaints had stopped, the incident with the removed family left a latent tension that not even Anna's impeccable service could dispel. Anna did her best to stay focused. Her movements were automatic, collecting empty glasses, serving desserts, checking passengers' comfort. But her mind was elsewhere. Every glance she received, even the most casual ones, felt loaded with judgment. It was as if the family's removal had transformed her from a respected professional into someone who needed to be scrutinized and evaluated. The captain's words still echoed in her mind. Though spoken calmly, they carried immense weight. Had she been unfair? Had she acted too hastily? What did he mean by being remembered as someone who acted unjustly? Paolo, always observant, noticed Anna's unease. He found her in the galley, organizing utensils with unusual intensity. "Anna, you need to relax. You're letting this get to you." "It's easier said than done," Anna replied without stopping. "I don't think I've ever felt so exposed." "Look, you made a tough call, but it had to be done. Don't be so hard on yourself," Paolo said, trying to be supportive. But Anna didn't seem convinced. Meanwhile, in economy class, the family was trying to adjust to their new reality. The mother, visibly shaken, smoothed her hair as she gazed out the window. The father kept a serious expression, though there was something in his eyes that revealed a mix of indignation and resignation. The children, oblivious to the tension between the adults, played quietly with their toys. Clara, the economy class flight attendant, made a point of giving the family special attention. She felt they needed a gesture of kindness. "Can I get something special for the kids? Maybe juice or a treat?" she asked warmly. "Thank you, but we're fine," the mother replied politely but distantly. Clara sensed it wouldn't be easy to break through. Still, she resolved to do her best to improve their experience. "If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask," she said before moving on to assist another passenger. Although economy class was less formal than first class, the family's presence still attracted attention. Some passengers whispered among themselves, speculating about what might have happened. Most assumed they had been downgraded because they couldn't afford first-class seats. Others simply watched with curiosity, refraining from judgment. The father, however, noticed the stares and murmurs. He tried to ignore them, but the situation was humiliating. "Let's just get through this flight," he said quietly to his wife. "After this, we'll never go through something like this again." The mother nodded, but her eyes were brimming with tears. It was hard to suppress the feeling that they had been treated unfairly. Back in first class, Anna was trying to ease the tension among the passengers. While most were satisfied with how the situation had been resolved, a few seemed unsettled by how it had been handled. An elderly woman, who had been silent for most of the flight, gestured discreetly for Anna to come over. "Miss, may I speak with you?" "Of course, ma'am. How can I help?" Anna replied, kneeling beside the passenger's seat. "I just wanted to say that sometimes it's hard to make decisions, but we mustn't let others' opinions guide us. We should always act with our hearts," the woman said with a wise expression. Anna smiled but felt a lump in her throat. Those words, though well-intentioned, reminded her that she might not have followed that advice. As Anna walked down the first-class aisle, the weight of responsibility settled on her shoulders again. Her mind was full of questions. Why did the family seem so out of place? Why did she feel so much pressure to remove them? And most of all, why was it affecting her so deeply? Paolo, ever the calming presence, approached her once more. "Anna, you need to forgive yourself. This wasn't easy for anyone." "I know," Anna replied, but her voice was laced with doubt. "But something tells me this isn't over. There's something about this situation I still don't understand." "Sometimes things just happen," Paolo said, trying to ease the tension. "There doesn't have to be a bigger reason." But Anna wasn't convinced. She felt that something larger was at play, even if she couldn't yet put her finger on what it was. Meanwhile, in economy class, the children had finally begun to relax. The boy, who had been quiet since the move, tugged on his mother's arm. "Mom, why did we come back here? Couldn't we stay up front?" The mother hesitated before replying. "It was a mistake, sweetheart. But we're fine here, aren't we?" The boy nodded, but his question hung in the air. For the children, it was just a change of seats. For the parents, it was a painful reminder of how they had been treated. As the flight neared its destination, the atmosphere on the plane seemed calmer. Anna finished the meal service and began organizing for landing. Yet, deep down, she knew something was coming. An uncomfortable sense lingered that the decision she had made, which seemed to have resolved the immediate problem, would still have consequences. Looking out the window and seeing the city lights drawing closer, Anna tried to convince herself she had done the right thing. But the father's expression as he gathered his things to leave first class remained etched in her mind. With the flight in its final stages and the cabin lights dimmed for landing, the tension appeared to have eased. First class was quiet, with passengers resting or preparing their belongings. Anna, however, couldn't relax. Despite her composed demeanor, her mind raced. Something about this flight felt different. She couldn't shake the image of the family she had removed or the reactions of some passengers to her decision. It felt as if there was something greater at play, something just beyond her understanding. While checking the seats for landing, Anna was called over by an elderly passenger seated in the last row of first class. It was the same woman who had previously offered her wise words about following her heart. "Miss, do you have a moment?" the woman asked in a gentle yet serious tone. "Of course, how can I help?" Anna replied, kneeling beside the passenger's seat to make the conversation more private. "I've been watching everything that happened today," the woman began, "and I must say, I'm intrigued." Anna felt her chest tighten. The woman seemed to be choosing her words carefully, as though she knew something Anna didn't. "Please understand, I'm not here to judge your actions, but do you know who that family is?" Anna blinked, surprised by the question. "No, they're passengers, like anyone else." "Why do you ask?" The woman sighed, folding her hands in her lap. "I recognize them. I'm certain he's Miguel Fernandez." The name didn't immediately ring a bell for Anna, but the woman's expression suggested she should know who he was. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I'm not familiar with him," Anna admitted, trying to keep her tone neutral. The woman leaned forward as if about to share a secret. "He's the new CEO of this airline." A chill ran down Anna's spine. The information seemed absurd. How could the CEO of an airline travel so inconspicuously, accompanied by his family? And why would he have tolerated being downgraded to economy class without revealing his identity? That can't be true, Anna murmured, more to herself than to the woman. If he were the CEO, he would have said something. Perhaps he didn't want to draw attention, the woman suggested. Or maybe he was testing something. Anna stood slowly, feeling the weight of the revelation. If what the woman said was true, her decision to move the family wasn't just a mistake, it was a disaster. Determined to get to the bottom of the situation, Anna headed to the galley, where she found Paolo organizing utensils. "Paolo, I need to talk to you." "No." He looked at her curiously but saw the seriousness in her expression and put down what he was doing. "What's going on?" "One of the passengers told me that the man, the father of the family we moved to economy, might be the CEO of this airline," Anna said quickly, keeping her voice low. Paolo raised his eyebrows, clearly surprised. "What? That doesn't make any sense. Why would he be traveling so simply?" "I don't know," Anna replied, crossing her arms. "But I need to find out." They decided to check the passenger records, which included basic information about everyone on board. When they found the man's name, Miguel Fernandez, Anna's heart sank. The surname matched that of the airline's leadership. Paolo, however, still seemed skeptical. It might just be a coincidence. "Fernandez isn't an uncommon last name," Paolo said, trying to calm Anna. "Maybe, but I can't ignore this," Anna replied firmly. "I need to talk to him." After ensuring first class was in order, Anna made her way to economy class. The sight of the family in their cramped seats was a blow to her professional pride. The children looked tired but calm. The father was reading a book, and the mother gazed out the window, lost in thought. Anna hesitated for a moment before approaching. "Excuse me, Mr. Fernandez," she said, trying to sound confident. The man looked up from his book, his eyes locking onto Anna's. There was something in his gaze, a mix of weariness and expectation, as if he had known this moment would come. "Yes," he responded in a neutral tone. "I'd like to apologize again for the inconvenience," Anna began, choosing her words carefully. "And I'd also like to ask, are you connected to the airline's leadership in any way?" The man raised an eyebrow, surprised by the direct question. For a moment, he seemed to weigh his response before speaking. "Why does it matter now?" "I've received information suggesting that you might be the CEO of the airline," Anna continued, feeling her heart race. "If that's true, I need to clarify what happened." The man calmly closed his book and placed it on his lap. "You didn't ask that when you decided to remove us from first class," he said, his voice steady but firm. Anna felt her face flush. "You're right, sir. And if I made a mistake, I want to do whatever I can to make it right." After a long pause, the man finally answered, "Yes, I am Miguel Fernandez. And for your information, my family and I were traveling discreetly because we wanted to evaluate the experience as regular passengers." The confirmation hit Anna like a punch to the stomach. She had removed the CEO of the airline from a space he had helped create, all because of a snap judgment and external pressure. "Sir, I don't know what to say," Anna stammered, but her words felt inadequate. "I truly apologize. I had no idea." "There's no need to apologize now," Miguel interrupted. "What you need to do is reflect, not on who I am, but on how you treated my family and the reasons behind your decision." His words were direct and cutting, but there was no anger in his voice. Only a firmness that made it clear he expected something more from Anna, something she had yet to understand fully. Anna nodded, unsure of what else to say. She returned to first class, her mind swirling, knowing this was only the beginning of a series of inevitable consequences. The plane landed smoothly at John F. Kennedy International Airport, but Anna's heart was far from calm. The confirmation that Miguel Fernandez was the CEO of the airline echoed in her mind. She knew her actions during the flight hadn't just affected the family directly, they could have catastrophic repercussions for her career. The first-class passengers began preparing to disembark, but Anna struggled to stay focused on her duties. Each "thank you" or "have a good day" she said sounded automatic, distant. Her gaze kept drifting toward the aisle, where the Fernandez family remained seated, waiting to be the last to leave the aircraft. As the last row of economy began to empty, Anna knew she couldn't avoid a direct encounter with Miguel and his family. When they stood to gather their belongings, Anna approached, fighting the knot in her stomach. "Mr. Fernandez," she began, her tone almost pleading, "I'd like to reiterate my apologies for what happened. It was never my intention to disrespect you or cause any discomfort." Miguel, helping his daughter adjust her backpack strap, turned to Anna with a serious expression. His calmness was unsettling, as if every word he spoke was measured carefully. "Miss, I'm not interested in apologies," he replied, his voice firm but without hostility. "What happened on this flight is more than a professional mistake. It's a reflection of something much deeper." Anna tried to interject, but Miguel continued. "You didn't remove us from first class because of the children's behavior. I'll admit they were excited, but they weren't causing any serious issues. The real reason was that you, like many others here, looked at us and decided we didn't belong in that space." As Miguel spoke, Paulo and other crew members watched from a distance, visibly tense. Paulo tried to intervene, stepping closer to Anna. "Mr. Fernandez, I can assure you we did our best to handle the situation professionally." Miguel interrupted him with a wave of his hand. "I'm not here to debate professionalism. I'm here to point out something many prefer to ignore: the silent biases that guide our actions." Miguel's words hit Anna like a blow. She knew he was right, but admitting it felt like exposing a wound she had tried to hide from herself. As the conversation continued, one of the first-class passengers, still waiting to disembark, overheard part of the exchange and seemed intrigued. "Wait, are you saying you're the CEO of this airline?" the man asked, stepping closer to Miguel. "Yes, I am," Miguel replied without hesitation. His statement was met with surprised looks, and soon, other passengers began paying attention. "But why were you traveling like that?" a woman asked, clearly baffled. "Because I wanted to evaluate the service my company provides without the filter of privileges," Miguel explained. "And I must say, the experience revealed more than I anticipated." The first-class passengers, who had previously seemed so confident in their superiority, now fell silent, some wearing expressions of embarrassment. Miguel seized the opportunity to conclude his remarks. This flight didn't just reveal shortcomings in customer service. It exposed how appearances still dictate who deserves to be in certain spaces. After Miguel and his family disembarked, Anna stood frozen in the aisle, as if paralyzed. His words echoed in her mind, and the overwhelming sense of shame was almost unbearable. She knew she had made a mistake, but what hurt even more was acknowledging that her actions had been influenced by biases she thought she didn't have. Paulo placed a hand on her shoulder. "Are you okay?" "No," Anna replied softly. "I'm not." "He's right, Paulo. I judged that family not by what they did, but by how they looked." "We all make mistakes," Paulo said, trying to console her. "What matters is what you do about it now." Anna nodded, but she knew it wouldn't be easy. Her career, her reputation, and, most importantly, her conscience were at stake. Miguel Fernandez's revelation wasn't just a professional shock. It was a call to re-examine who she was and how she treated others. When the plane was finally cleared for cleaning, Anna removed her badge and held it in her hands, reflecting on the future. She knew there would be serious repercussions. Miguel had been firm but fair, and Anna respected that. More than ever, she understood she needed to prepare for the consequences of her actions. As she stepped off the plane and walked down the airport corridor, Anna felt a mix of fear and determination. Perhaps this mistake could be an opportunity to learn and grow. Perhaps it was the start of a change she didn't yet fully understand. After disembarking, Anna couldn't bring herself to check her phone. Every vibration in her pocket felt like the announcement of a storm of notifications she wasn't ready to face. The conversation with Miguel Fernandez still echoed in her mind, each word pressing deeper the weight of her actions. Deep down, Anna knew the silence wouldn't last. Once the CEO's name came up, the situation was no longer a quiet mistake but something impossible to ignore. The next day, upon arriving at the airline's headquarters, Anna was summoned directly to the supervisor's office. He sat behind an imposing desk, his expression serious and slightly disappointed. "You know why you're here, Anna?" he began bluntly. "Yes, sir," she replied, trying to maintain her composure. The supervisor opened a file in front of him but seemed more interested in looking directly into Anna's eyes. "Miguel Fernandez contacted the board directly. He didn't request your termination, but he made sure to report the incident and emphasize the impact it had on his and his family's experience." Anna felt her stomach turn. She knew Miguel was fair, but also that he wouldn't miss an opportunity to highlight the larger issue the flight had exposed. "Because of this, you are officially suspended while we conduct a full review of the case. During this period, you are also required to complete a retraining program focused on customer service, with an emphasis on empathy and inclusion." Though she had expected worse, the words still felt like a blow to Anna. Suspension meant more than just temporarily losing her job. It meant admitting she had failed at something fundamental. "Understood, sir," she replied quietly. As Anna grappled with her suspension, the incident began to gain traction on social media. Someone on board had recorded part of the interaction between Anna and Miguel, and the video quickly went viral. In the clip, Miguel could be heard saying, "We weren't removed because of inappropriate behavior, but because they decided we didn't belong in that space." Online reactions were varied, but many were critical of what had happened. Some users defended Anna, arguing she had simply been doing her job under pressure, but the majority agreed that the situation was a clear example of implicit bias. Anna avoided reading the news and comments, but it was impossible to completely ignore what was happening. Her phone buzzed constantly with messages, some supportive but many filled with criticism and even insults. The following days were the hardest of Anna's life. Unable to work, she was forced to confront her mistakes in a way she never had before. For the first time, she realized how her own insecurities and biases had shaped her decisions. During the retraining program, Anna was faced with scenarios that mirrored what had happened on the flight. It was challenging but also eye-opening. She realized that at some point in her career, she had begun prioritizing order and efficiency over humanity, leading to the mistake that had nearly destroyed her career. "You're not a bad person," the instructor said during one session. "But like all of us, you are a product of the environment you grew up in and work in." Recognizing that is the first step to change. Anna held onto those words like a mantra. If there was one positive takeaway from the experience, it was the opportunity to become a better professional, and, more importantly, a better person. As Anna faced the consequences of her actions, Miguel Fernandez and his family were also processing the incident. Miguel was a man of principles, and while he was deeply disappointed by the treatment they received, he harbored no resentment. To him, the episode was an opportunity to drive change within the company. In a meeting with the board, Miguel pushed for mandatory training programs for all staff, focusing on empathy and equality. "This incident isn't just about one flight attendant," he said. "It's about a culture that still allows judgments to be made based on appearances." His wife, however, was still grappling with the humiliation they had faced. It's not easy to move past something like this, especially when you're trying to teach your children that a person's worth isn't defined by what they wear or where they come from, she told Miguel in a private conversation. Even the children, though young, understood that what happened to their family was wrong. "Why did the lady send us away?" Miguel's daughter asked him. He responded with patience, explaining that sometimes people make mistakes, but the best response is to learn from them. A few weeks into her suspension, Anna received an unexpected email. It was an invitation to meet with Miguel Fernandez. The email didn't provide many details, but it was clear he wanted to speak with her directly. Anxious and nervous, Anna prepared for the meeting. When she arrived at the conference room in the airline's headquarters, she found Miguel seated at the table, his expression calm but serious. "Miss Anna," he began, gesturing for her to sit. "Thank you for coming." "Thank you for having me, sir," she replied, trying to maintain her composure. "I want to make it clear that I didn't ask for your termination because I believe in the power of learning," he said. "But I also want you to understand that what happened on that flight was more than an isolated mistake. It was a reflection of how we judge people based on biases we often don't even realize we have. Anna nodded, feeling the weight of his words. My intention here isn't to humiliate you, Miguel continued. I want to know, what have you learned from all of this? Anna took a deep breath before answering. I've learned that, as a professional, my responsibility goes beyond maintaining order or following protocols. My job is to treat every passenger with dignity, regardless of who they are or where they come from. And I've learned that I need to confront my own biases to ensure they don't influence my actions. Miguel remained silent for a moment before offering a faint smile. That's the answer I was hoping to hear. After their conversation, Miguel made it clear that Anna would be given a second chance, but with conditions. She would need to complete the retraining program and actively participate in an internal initiative to train new employees in empathy and inclusion. For Anna, this was more than a punishment. It was an opportunity for redemption. As she left the meeting, Anna felt something she hadn't experienced in weeks: hope. There was still a long road ahead, but she was determined to rebuild her career and, more importantly, her confidence in herself. The weeks following her meeting with Miguel Fernandez were filled with intense learning and self-reflection for Anna. She immersed herself in empathy and inclusion training, participated in group discussions, and listened to stories that broadened her perspective on subtle biases and discrimination. Each session was like a mirror, reflecting her own mistakes and showing her the necessity for change. Anna knew it wouldn't be easy to rebuild her reputation and confidence. Her return to work wouldn't just be about demonstrating competence, it would be about proving she had deeply learned from everything that had happened. After completing her training, Anna was cleared to return to work. However, her reintegration was met with skeptical glances from some colleagues. While many knew she had made a mistake, few understood the depth of its impact on her. Paulo, always a supportive presence, welcomed her back with a smile. Welcome back, Anna. I hope this new chapter is better for you. Thank you, Paulo. I won't waste this opportunity, she replied with a tone of determination. Part of her new role involved leading a training program for new employees. Initially, Anna was hesitant. How could someone who had made such a grave error teach others about empathy and inclusion? Over time, however, she realized that her experience was precisely what made her perspective valuable. During one session, Anna openly shared what had happened on the flight with the Fernandez family. I made a mistake that not only hurt others but also showed me how my own biases were holding me back. I've learned that recognizing our faults is the first step to improving. The participants were moved by her honesty. For many, hearing a leader admit their mistakes was a powerful reminder that everyone is constantly learning. As Anna worked to rebuild her professional image, she also took the opportunity to reassess her personal relationships. For years, she had distanced herself from her family out of embarrassment over her humble upbringing. Now, she realized how that attitude had influenced the way she judged others. Anna decided to visit her parents and younger sister in her old neighborhood. When she arrived, she was greeted with warm hugs and a simple yet heartfelt dinner. "We're so proud of you," her mother said as she served soup. "We heard you faced challenges at work, but we know you're strong enough to overcome them." Her mother's words deeply moved Anna. She promised herself she would never again let pride or ambition distance her from the people who mattered most. Months later, Anna received an unexpected invitation. Miguel Fernandez had invited her to an internal company event to present the new inclusion programs and the results of the changes implemented after the incident. Anna knew it would be a pivotal moment to demonstrate that she had learned and grown. At the event, Miguel addressed an audience of employees and company partners. He highlighted how the incident on the flight had served as a catalyst for significant cultural changes within the organization. Turning mistakes into learning opportunities is what defines a company and the people within it, he said before inviting Anna to the stage. Anna took a deep breath and stepped forward, facing the crowd with a shy smile. "What happened on that flight was my mistake, but it was also a reflection of something we all need to confront together: the biases we carry without realizing it. Today, I can say I've learned the importance of looking beyond appearances and treating every person with dignity." After the event, Miguel approached Anna. "You did well," he said. "And more importantly, you've shown that you're capable of learning and growing." "Thank you, Mr. Fernandez," Anna replied. "It means a lot to me that you gave me this chance." Miguel's wife was also present, and though she had been more resistant to forgiving Anna, she finally approached her. "I hope you continue to honor what you've learned," she said in a kind but firm tone. "I promise I will," Anna replied sincerely. Over time, Anna became one of the airline's most respected flight attendants. Her work on the inclusion program brought about positive changes, and her dedication to treating all passengers with empathy became an example for her colleagues. One day, while serving a passenger in first class, he remarked, "You seem to really enjoy what you do." Anna smiled. "I do. And I've learned that everyone who steps onto this plane deserves to be treated like someone important, no matter where they come from or where they're going." Months had passed since the internal company event where Anna had the chance to share her experience and growth. From that moment on, her professional and personal life entered a phase of solid rebuilding. While she still faced occasional challenges, Anna now approached them with the confidence that she had grown and was ready to do better. Anna continued to lead the inclusion training sessions with a renewed sense of purpose. The program she helped develop gained momentum within the company, eventually becoming mandatory for all employees. Positive feedback from participants and supervisors reinforced the confidence Anna was steadily rebuilding. During one of the training sessions, a new employee approached Anna during the break. "Miss Anna, I heard about the incident that brought you to this program. It's inspiring to see how you turned something negative into something so impactful." Anna smiled, grateful for the sincerity. Making mistakes is inevitable, but what we do afterward defines who we are. These words weren't just a mantra for Anna, they were the essence of how she now lived her life. With the success of the training programs, Miguel Fernandez decided to expand the inclusion initiative to other branches of the company worldwide. He invited Anna to lead the teams responsible for implementing the program on a global scale. Though nervous about the challenge, Anna accepted with enthusiasm. The new position wasn't just a professional opportunity but a chance to solidify the impact of her actions and help others learn from her example. In a private conversation, Miguel expressed his appreciation. "When I decided to give you a second chance, it was because I saw potential in you. Today, I can see it was one of the best decisions I've made." "Thank you for believing in me, Mr. Fernandez," Anna replied with a mix of humility and gratitude. During a visit to another company branch, Anna crossed paths with the Fernandez family again, this time in a more relaxed setting. Miguel, his wife, and their children were attending an employee event. The children, now older, vaguely remembered what had happened on that flight. "It's her," the daughter exclaimed, pointing at Anna with a smile. "The lady from the airplane." Anna laughed nervously while Miguel and his wife watched the interaction. "Yes, that's me. I hope this time we're meeting under better circumstances." Miguel nodded, but it was his wife who spoke up. "We all make mistakes, Anna. What matters is what we do afterward. And you've proven you deserve to be where you are." "Thank you," Anna said, touched. "I promise to continue honoring this opportunity." Over time, Anna became a respected figure within the company. Her story inspired other employees to recognize their own biases and work to overcome them. Additionally, the inclusion program began fostering significant cultural shifts, turning the company into a model of empathy and diversity in the industry. Anna also became a mentor for new employees, guiding them through the challenges of the profession. For her, each new face represented an opportunity to pass on the lessons she had learned the hard way. One day, while serving in first class, Anna encountered a passenger who seemed out of place, much like the Fernandez family on that fateful flight. He was dressed simply and appeared uncertain about how to behave. Anna approached him with a warm smile. "Welcome aboard," she said, offering to help stow his luggage. "If you need anything, I'll be around." The man seemed relieved by her kindness. "Thank you. It's my first time in first class." Anna made sure he was comfortable, and throughout the flight, she noticed how that small gesture made a big difference. It was a reminder that her transformation wasn't just professional but deeply personal. Anna's journey became a symbol within the airline. Her dedication to turning a mistake into an opportunity for growth created a legacy that inspired not just colleagues but passengers and leaders alike. More importantly, she found a new purpose in her profession, treating every person as someone deserving of respect and dignity. In an internal interview, Anna summarized her journey with words that echoed throughout the company. No matter where you are, never forget that your humanity defines how you treat others. And above all, remember that a mistake is not the end but the beginning of a new opportunity to make things right. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any content. There are more amazing stories waiting for you. Click here and keep watching.